Welcome back to the Twang Table. We are greeted today and enchanted by none other than the Mike Hickey with his 1953 Butterscotch Blackguard Telecaster. We are honored here at the Twang Table, so all you Telecaster lovers and plain talkers, hope you will enjoy his profound words and introspection into the world of the electric guitar. Thank you. So, in order to start here today, let's pull back the curtain for you, Mike. And what was the catalyst? What set the whole thing off in motion? Go back to your earliest days where the electric guitar came into your life.
It's probably, like most people of my generation, seeing Kiss, being interested in Kiss, seeing the Marshall Stacks,
the
Les Paul, Flying V, and then taking lessons, simple lessons and basic stuff, and then finally getting an electric guitar, and and then getting obsessed with it like everybody does. Even from beginner to intermediate to advanced to professionals, everyone, there's a place at the table for everybody, when it comes to guitars, and obviously it's a huge industry, and it can, when you're down on your luck, you got no money, nobody's hanging out, you still got a guitar, you can play it. So it still gives me, all these years later, it keeps me out of trouble, or it gets me into it. I don't know.
I love that. Yeah. So you get on, you find this tool, this instrument that gives you an immense amount of joy and pleasure and activity, and you commit to it, and you start playing the guitar, and soon enough, after some lessons and hanging out with your buddies and learning stuff, learning curve, you're in your first couple of rock bands, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I mean, of course, in school we had bands, and then I got, I joined a band that was playing, probably, making $25 to $50 per person.
Yeah.
And then, as I got more advanced and could play more styles or more versatile or something, because I had some great teachers, and they would have me sit in with their band, and I was just a kid, and I couldn't really play well, but I could play enough to get through the song, and they would help me and teach me. And then, like me and my buddies, we had a couple of bands, we'd go jam with people. I met a real influential guitarist to me when I was 16. His name is Chris Bell, you probably know him.
I knew Chris, yeah.
So I met him in the mall. Random. I had like a Randy Rhoads shirt on or something, and he came up and he's like, "Do you play guitar?" And we're still, we still talk all the time, and we're still great friends all these years later. And
great.
And he's a joy to play with. He's a great player, and so through him, I ended up coming down to Amherst, Northampton, meeting people like Joe Boyle, players like that, and it was just a really great period for learning. And we would have, like, even later in the years, Chris would have like guitar roundtables at his house.
So cool.
With there was a guy called Denny Balicki who was in a band called what were they called? It slips me, but we get him, we'd get Joe Interland down there,
Joe,
and we'd all just share ideas because we didn't play the same. We all played rock, but we didn't play the same way. So I knew an Yngwie lick, this guy knew a Randy Rhoads lick. We all loved Eddie. So it was a really great time to learn and share. And then I went on to go to Berkeley for a couple semesters and met more players. Then moved to California, met more players. And it's just the same story for a lot of people. You once you get into a city, you realize you're not that good. There's a lot of great players everywhere at different styles and levels.
And then somewhere in that journey along the way, you transcend into a group, I believe, were they called Venom?
Yes, that happened in like '86. I was in LA trying to audition for a lot of bands, and I had like a manager, and she knew somebody in Venom, and they needed a guitar player, and so, you know, I was like, yeah, I'll play with anybody.
Yeah.
Especially somebody who has, you know, like a real recording career and real gigs and, you know, lots of Marshalls and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know. So I did that for a few years, and off and on, and you know, rejoined the band years and years later, and you know, it's not really I love heavy rock, heavy metal, black metal, whatever you want to call it, but I don't want to play like that, you know, anymore.
Yeah.
I still want to play heavy and hard rock stuff, but I don't want it focused in one genre, you know, and I don't want to have to play dress up.
So in that particular group, and you will correct me, I'm probably wrong on this, that group created enough ripples where people in the business and several other musicians really enjoyed that band. And somehow in the back of my mind I have a story, which I don't know if it's true or not. The early Metallica people, they were highly admiring what you guys were doing. They knew very much about you.
Well, that was before I joined the band, so you know, I came in as a replacement.
Okay, yeah.
But when Metallica first went to Europe, they opened for Venom.
Okay.
So when they were starting out,
sure.
And so those guys did shows together, and then I believe when Venom came to the States, right before I joined, it was Venom, Slayer, and Exodus that was the package. So all that stuff was all related, you know.
Yep.
All that stuff, and Metallica was related to the Exodus because Kirk Hammett came from Exodus and Metallica, so on. And then, you know, Venom invented the genre black metal, you know, the evil concept and the pentagrams and all that. And, you know, and it's nothing like what black metal is today, like from the Scandinavian bands, but it was just something that didn't sound like everybody else at the time, and they influenced a lot of bands, which is great.
Yeah. So the next, I guess, transition or step, at some point you change into the offering of becoming a guitar technician. Comes along.
Yeah, I mean, what happened for that was, you know, because you're always messing with your gear, and our mutual deceased friend Joe Interland,
yes,
he was going on this tour, and as you know, his brother is a merchandise guy.
Yep.
So he got offered to go do merch, I think with Ozzy or something.
That's correct, yeah.
And so he called me and he said, you know, hey, would you go on this tour? You know these guys from that band, you know, it'll be a blast. So I did it. And, you know, it actually, you know, it was, it turned into, after that tour, I got gigs out of the playing with bands in that tour. And, but at the time, you know, I had 3 bands to take care of and like 13 guitars, and I didn't know what I was doing. I could fix something or solder something, but I wasn't, you know, I didn't have a plan.
Yes.
Just did whatever. We're trying to party and meet girls and play metal, and you know, and but doing that made me go, oh, I can make money doing this. Usually more money than playing in the band.
Yeah.
So that, you know, would start to open up things like, oh, hey man, do you want to come on this tour with us? And so I did a few things like in the metal circuit, and then went back to playing. Then I met T-Bone Wolk from Hall & Oates.
Yep.
And I started working as his assistant because he lived local. And then he got me a job with Hall & Oates, teching for John Oates.
And he was playing with him at the time,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
He was playing bass, and then I did that for a couple years. Then I went back to playing, and then I don't know what the circumstance was, but the slot to take care of Daryl Hall came up, and so they called me. And by that time, T-Bone had moved to rhythm guitar, lead guitar, and so I went and worked with Daryl, and then that led to working on his TV series, doing probably like 30 episodes of that, which also led to me playing on the series and recording on a record with them, stuff like that. It's all who you're hanging around with.
And that, folks, is what Mike is talking about. Many of you probably know the show and watch it, and if for those that don't, he's talking about Live at Daryl's House.
Yeah.
Which, you worked there for what?
Several years.
Several years, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it's ironic because I was just on tour and we played at his club.
Oh, yeah, New York.
And it was just really interesting because some of the same people work there.
Yes.
So it was kind of a reunion of sorts,
Yeah, yeah. And then you toggle into the Joe Bonamassa camp.
Yeah.
Right?
I was pretty much doing nothing at the time. And one of my friends called and he says, "Hey man, can you go on tour like this week?" And I'm like, "Well, who's it with?" And he's like, "That's Joe Bonamassa." I'm like, "Oh yeah, I met that dude once. He's cool." I didn't know anything about him, his music. I knew he had some old guitars, and I was familiar with him. And
Yeah.
the one time I met him, previous, he was just easy to deal with.
Yeah.
There was no fanfare. So, I called him up, and I said, we have mutual friends. I'm into Sunburst Les Pauls, and he's like, "Sounds great,"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, just, send your resume." I'm like, "I don't have a resume." I said, I've been working for Daryl Hall for years, and he was like, "Oh, okay, good enough."
Great.
So then we did that, I did that for 10 years up until COVID.
Yeah.
And that, screwed all the touring industry up. And, but it was a great gig. It's a great job. Cool guitars, great player. I mean, he's just devastatingly good on the guitar. Super nice guy. Treats everyone from, everyone's the same to him. Normal.
That's so good to hear.
Yeah, he's really cool. And of course, get to have stuff like this as regular performance guitars,
Yeah.
And, we'll have a 59 Les Paul out there, we'll have a 58V, 54 Blackguards,
Yeah.
nice Strats. I mean, it's a great thing, and cool amps, and he plays loud. And, of course, as it always seems to happen, I end up playing with him too. So,
Yeah.
while I was working.
Yeah. And so there you are now traveling the world, and not only the world, you're traveling the world of some of the most sought after exotic instruments that are existing on the planet. So you got to firsthand play all of these great guitars, Les Pauls, 58s, 59 Les Pauls, 50s, 60s Tellies, Strats, etc., etc. So
yeah, I mean, that was the mission too.
Yeah.
The mission was any waking free moment we're going shopping.
yeah, the Safari.
Yeah, guitar safari.
Yeah.
The thing is, his budget's different than mine, and I have different interests too.
Yeah, of course.
Because I like the Charvels and the Hamers and stuff, and the Floyd Rose and
Yeah.
all that. So, but I like these too.
Yeah.
And I had old guitars, and I sold them because the prices were going up, which was dumb.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is, I know enough people that I can go borrow something.
Yeah. And we're going to talk, on that note right there, we're going to exit into another lane, another topic, so to speak. We're going to get Mike Hickey's perspective on the Fender Telecaster guitar, because he knows them inside and out, and he's played truckloads, literally truckloads of those guitars. So I'd like to ask you your perspective, your perceptions on what you feel the Telecaster brings to the stage that, say, a certain kind of SG or a Les Paul or a 335 or any other guitar that you care to name. What is in the pedigree or the substance of a Tele that you feel make it its own unique tonal and characteristic about the Tele? What do you like about the Telecaster yourself?
Well, the fact that it's basic.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing to it. It's a slab of wood with another slab of wood screwed on.
Yeah.
And it's been the same guitar they're making one today in the factory that basically is this.
Yeah.
It's happening right this minute. And the flat pole bridge pickup, it's aggressive. Yeah, it's twangy.
Yeah.
But it can get right up there close to a humbucking guitar.
Yeah.
And if you mod, which people don't want to mod anything, but if you put a humbucker here, like you have,
Yeah.
that adds a whole nother realm of stuff. And that's like that's a Duncan, the mini humbucker.
Yeah, the mini.
You know, a lot of people have a PAF in there.
Yeah.
And you know, this guitar is stock, so the wiring is on this position. It's that bridge pickup with the tone engaged. If you put it in the middle, it's the neck pickup with the tone engaged.
Yeah.
If you put it there, it's the neck pickup with capacitors to make it very deep and dark, like a bass kind of. That was the intent.
Yeah.
And I particularly don't like either of those sounds.
Yeah.
I like that sound.
Yep.
And then you can darken it like Roy Buchanan style.
Yeah, use the tone control.
And I mean, I probably at this point wouldn't mod something like this because I wouldn't be the last person owning it.
Yeah.
But I have a Charvel, which has a humbucker there.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't need to, you know, route this. If it's already done, like in the case of Bonamassa's got a no-caster that they call the Bludgeon.
Yeah.
And that guitar, the pickup's super hot, and it's got the PAF in the neck. He bought it that way, so he didn't destroy anything. And he's got a couple that have that modification, and they'll stand toe-to-toe with any humbucking guitar, but there's a certain sound of the strings going through and straight across. You know, it's pretty straight.
Yep.
All the way, whereas a Gibson's got a pitch to the headstock and of the neck angle.
Yeah.
You know, this gets a twang, a more I don't want to say twangy all the time, but since we're at the twang table,
There you go.
but like if you play a 58 Flying V, the strings go through,
More snap.
and so it's snappier than a Les Paul. You
Yeah.
know? Whereas most of the Gibsons all have the stop tail tunematic format, you know, with two humbuckers.
Yeah.
The Flying V, it's coming through the body like this, so it's got more of the characteristic of this.
And with this type of bridge, I think Fender, what was it, in 1958 or at least 59, maybe into early 60s, didn't they make...
Oh, they top loaded it.
they top loaded
Yeah,
it.
they drill holes there.
Do you think there's any kind of noticeable tonal aspects to a top loader versus...
I guess there
through the
would
body?
be,
Yeah.
because there's less tension.
Less tension on
I don't think it's gonna, in the big picture, it'll affect what you feel more so.
Yeah.
Kind of like top wrapping a Les Paul.
Yeah.
Loosens it just a little, and yeah, I mean, I'm sure if we sat here with a top-loaded Telly, it would sound slightly different.
Yeah.
But like, this and that are basically the same guitar, you know.
Yeah.
And what year is that?
This is, they made these, I think, for 2 or 3 years. I want to say 2007. They called it the Hot Rod 51 or something. Or
so,
52,
but you can see,
52.
right?
Hot
2007, 1953.
Yeah.
It's the same. It's the same thing,
Yeah.
right? The only difference is you've got better wiring, you know. And you know, we want to keep this stuff stock because these are
Sure.
artifacts, and
Yes.
there's not a lot of them. And like this one, it's dated 6/15/53 TG, which is Taddeo Gomez.
Yeah.
And the neck pocket says Taddeo 6/9/53, and then in here you have Gloria written on a piece of masking tape, and that's also 6/15/53. And this one weighs 7 pounds 7 5/8 ounces, so it's not too heavy.
Mine's about that
Yeah.
same way, too.
Yeah, you don't want to get up
Yeah.
over 8
Yeah.
on a telly, I don't think.
Yeah.
I mean, plenty of great music's made on 70s tellies
Yeah.
and 70s Les Pauls, all that stuff. But like, you know, I probably should have looked at the pot codes on this and wrote those down too, but maybe they're covered
Yeah.
with solder or something. But
Do you think, with regarding to the potentiometers, both of the tone control especially and the volume control, if they're wearing out, do you kind of search out for
Look for old ones.
Look for old ones, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a tip, folks.
I would never, it would never bother me to pillage a lap steel for pots.
Yeah.
And I'm fully convinced that the old pots, like you could put PAFs in a modern Les Paul, that's not going to give you the sound. You need the pots too.
Yeah.
The taper of the pots and the fidelity or the lack of fidelity, and you need the real caps, which are actually resistors. But that plays a big part in it. And if you took a real wiring harness and real pickups and put it in a modern Les Paul, you're going to be way closer to a vintage Les Paul than just putting the pickups in.
Yeah.
The harness is a big deal. And again, people won't like it, but I would rob an ES-175 all day long.
Yeah. Great.
But
now,
I don't condone that behavior. I'm just saying I would.
Right. Yes, well put. And so, you hear more talk now than ever before because there's so much more stuff out there surfacing. The nut is so important to a guitar's resonation. How do you feel about the nut being a real bone nutter versus a hybrid or nylon or whatever?
All these vintage guitars have plastic or nylon.
Yeah.
And so a bone nut, I think you really get the power of the bone nut is more like on a Martin.
Okay.
Right? I mean, and then, in my case, most of my guitars have Floyd Roses.
Yeah.
So it's clamped, it's all metal.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I still get nice, thick, sweet sounds.
Yeah.
And, it is a different tone than a stock Strat. And, eventually the nut is going to wear out.
Yeah.
So in the interest of a functioning instrument, same thing with frets.
Yeah.
The thing I don't like is like if someone was going to refret this, a lot of guys would sand it. And so like Joe Glazier, who does a lot of Bonamassa's fret work, they don't touch that. They get the frets leveled.
I see.
They leave the finish intact.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys, the first thing they want to do is plane the board down. And that's cool because it's flatter and easier to bend up.
Yep.
No, you don't get that. But maybe if you're up there, you shouldn't be in that department, right?
Yeah.
You stay down here,
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
And what some people do is they take the original nut and raise it, put a shim under it, so you can still have the original material. And this looks like this has been. Well, it's had a lot of. It's got wide grooves in it. But it looks like there's glue on the side holding it in. So it'll function.
Yeah.
I mean, the setup things. All these guys measure stuff and go crazy. This pickup needs to be this side and all. I don't think about that. I raise the pickup so it's closer to the strings and it sounds good. Obviously, set the intonation, but like I don't measure this string as this many 5/8 and whatevers, and you want it so you can play all over the neck, and that it plays basically in tune. I mean, this is not a scientific bridge situation.
Yeah.
And you can certainly buy a 6 saddle or a modern whatever and replace that stuff. But all those records that we love have this stuff on them.
Yeah. And, the big thing that comes to my mind, I remember very clearly hearing that first Jimmy Page with Led Zeppelin 1, and just hearing that, and I got to see that first tour. I saw him twice back then, and I even saw him at Mountain Park down here when he came with the Yardbirds.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Huh.
And but anyhow, he had the Telly then, before the Les Pauls and the Marshalls.
Yeah.
But that first record, apparently, is a Telecaster, maybe through a Supro with a 15-inch speaker or something, little tube amp, and it's such a...
Yeah, and the Tele is very prominent on all of their recordings.
Yeah.
Once the Les Paul came in, though, because it can get clean,
sure.
and twangy,
yeah,
and he had headroom and dynamics.
Yeah.
That's what, for me, with Zeppelin and Page, his arrangements, his harmonies, and just the dynamics of the compositions.
Yeah.
And they all had limited choices then too.
Yeah.
He probably didn't go, I'm going to go out and buy a Supro amp.
Yeah.
Probably that was the amp that was available, just like the Marshall was available, and all the people in England had Marshalls because they were available.
Yeah.
You go to California and everyone had Fender amps,
Yeah.
because that's what was available for the Beach Boys to play through, and all those guys. And it's not like today where there's everything.
Yeah.
And there's still basically, all these amps are still basically a Fender basement in the end.
Yeah.
The basic circuit.
And wasn't that sort of like the premise of the early Marshalls? They
Right.
were investigating the Fender basement and tried to emulate it, but they had their military grade parts and all of that.
And then they're somehow they're getting way more gain.
Yeah.
Although if you dime a Bassman or a Tweed Twin,
Yeah.
there's plenty of gain. It's not Metallica gain, but you could play Metallica on it.
Yeah. I remember playing this and other Teles through Blackface and even some Silverface Fender Super Reverb amps, quite loud, 7 or 8, and no matter where you were on the selector switch, and if you were in this neck position, you could get the guitar to sing and have that really nice, super sustained, unbelievable tone.
Also playing loud,
Yeah.
which is missing now.
Yeah,
because
totally.
of modelers, and which
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get you need to make it easy to tour, but there's nothing like firing up an amp.
Yeah.
And nowadays, you put your Marshall master volume on 1, and the sound is like, oh, you're too loud.
Yeah.
And I'm like thinking, how did they function back when I was young? Because we didn't do that. We just turned it up.
We had a club for a short while called the Woodrose Ballroom in South Deerfield. Then it became Phineas. But anyhow, I'll make the story very short. I went to see the Allman Brothers there on their first their first tour. The first record was out. Live at the Fillmore hadn't even happened yet. So this would have been about 1970. And all across that stage, there was Marshall cabinets, Fender Dual Showmans, a couple of twin reverbs, some Bassmans, Ampegs, some custom amps, some Sun amps. It was a litter, a volley of amps across the whole stage. Dickie Betts and Dwayne Allman both had Les Pauls with them and an SG. And I think there was a 335 there too. But it was just a wall. I've never seen I had seen Jethro Tull in a number of bands and et cetera, and they had lots of amps, but I'd never seen anything like this. And there was just cable into those amps. There was no pedals. There was no fuzz faces or any kind of distortion pedals. It was all just amps chain gang together, coupled together, and it was an amazing sound.
Yeah, and it's great. Again, headroom.
Yeah, headroom.
There's room to turn down.
Yeah.
Whereas nowadays you're at this capped level all the time. And I mean, if you're playing stadiums and stuff, or large theaters, arenas, you can probably get away with it, but even there people want you to play quiet.
Yeah.
And you get amps are off the stage and everyone's using in-ears, which I don't particularly like. I get it.
Yeah.
They are handy. They leave a lot of control, but I like when things are dangerous.
Yeah. So let's
like if you go see Jay Mascis, there's some danger there when there's 3 full stacks.
I remember also way back. I love the way you just said that. I love the dangerousness. I went to see Cactus with Jim McCarty, and they had just put out that first record, which is a really wonderful blues rock sensational album.
He's a great player.
Yeah, and Jim had a black Les Paul custom through a big bank of Marshalls, and Tim Bogart, same thing,
Yeah.
maybe 200-watt Marshalls, and it was in a small wooden theater. It was fantastic. It was just so fantastic, the tones, and
Yeah, he was well, he's still an amazing guitarist.
yeah, he's still around. He would play with Mitch Ryder, I think, prior to that, right? Yeah. And so anyhow, let's go into the world, touching upon a little bit more. What's a day in the life of Mike Hickey on tours?
Oh, on tour? I
On
was going to
tour.
say now. I'm
Yeah,
yelling at my dog, taking my dog out,
Yeah.
yelling at my dog.
What's the life of Mike Hickey, say, working for Joe Bonamassa?
Joe's gig is really straightforward. You know, probably loading in at 11:30.
Your day starts around 11 in the morning.
Yeah, and then you pop the cases, line up the amps. It's all there's a whole plan. Yeah.
Now, do you take care of any of the amp detail duties, or are you just totally
No, I
guitar?
suck at that stuff.
You're just a guitar guy.
Yeah,
Guitar technician.
And if the amps blow up, there's a backup.
Yeah.
And there's some guys that do it all, and there's guys that'll refret a guitar. Or, I always say I don't do anything. I just tell you, you sound great, dude. But I'm very good at tuning. I'm conscious of it all the time, and the trick is like restringing a lot. Changing your strings is half the battle.
Pay attention, kids.
Yeah, yeah, and I know it's easy to say that when people are giving you strings, but when people say, "Oh, I can't keep my guitar in tune," well, it's because your strings are just rotten.
Talk a little bit about your procedure from word go. You get your whatever Diodario's or whatever brand strings you're using. What do you exactly do to work those strings and work that guitar into tune? Can you explain?
You just, first of all, you've got each guitar is different. So like on a Fender, I'll pull the string 1, 2.5 pegs, right?
Okay.
And then I put it back and put it in, and then I'll get 3 wraps, basically.
3 wraps.
Right? And I don't tie it in knots, and some people do. Everyone's got a different method. But once they're in, I just stretch them and stretch them and stretch them and stretch them, keep tuning it, and then play it. So if it's a song that's going to be in D, I'll play in D a lot, right?
Okay.
And just all the bends that somebody might do. And with a Les Paul, I have a different method where I go to the next peg and then pull it back, and I go over and then under twice.
Over and under twice.
Yeah.
Gibson.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I chop wrap Les Pauls if it's if the artist wants it.
Yeah.
And I add a second ball end to the string.
That was your invention, sort of, pretty much, right?
Yeah, I started doing it out of necessity because I was breaking strings.
Yeah.
At the back end.
Yeah.
Right at where the winding is, the thicker winding.
Okay.
So effectively what it does is it pulls it back 1/8 of an inch where it bends. So you're just bending the string, not the end of the winding. Mm-hmm. And it also relieves tension on the bridge, because on a lot of Les Pauls, you're going to be touching the back of the bridge, robbing sustain, coming up if you keep your tailpiece down.
Yeah.
And when the tailpiece is up, I find it's like in the wrong, everything's wrong. And so I started doing it just because I was breaking strings. Then when I started working for Joe, he was breaking B and E strings, so I just did those 2 strings for a while. And then, because everyone goes, that looks weird with the balls sticking out. And so eventually I just did the whole thing for him.
Yeah.
And I can say in years, maybe 1 broken string. And
wow.
Also, and then the total opposite is on, with Slash's guitars, the tailpiece is up. And, and the way he wants it, or the way I was explained to me how he wanted it, is not the way I do it myself.
Yeah.
And I was even, because I inherited his gig overnight and was very, I just had to go learn really quickly, and it's a complicated gig. There's a lot of guitars, and the set list varies through the show, so you don't quite know what's going to happen. You have a get. You could be like, well, maybe I need this one, and this one coming up, but you basically got to have 20 guitars ready to go at the drop of a hat. And so I learned how his tech taught me how to string it that way, which is not the way I would do it. And we were still breaking some strings. So what I started doing was halfway through the show, I would change the high E on the most used guitars.
Do you find any particular gauge or brand of string that seems to somehow outlast others? Have you experimented with a lot of different?
Well, with Joe, he uses 11 to 52.
Yep.
And Slash uses 11 to, I think it's 48.
48, probably.
I think.
Could be 46.
And
48.
He's down a half step, Joe's standard pitch.
Okay, yeah.
So inherently, Slash is a much more aggressive picker. He's really manhandling the guitar.
Yeah.
And I would then just, raise his tailpiece a hair to get the string away from the saddle, the back of the bridge. And that seemed to help a little bit. But part of it's just his strength, the way he grabs the guitar, and he picks very hard.
Yeah.
And Joe picks very alternate picking.
Yep.
And very smoothly. And his hand is dancing over here, whereas someone like Slash is just, he's just strangling it to death.
Yeah.
And they're totally different players with a similar blues-based concept.
Yep.
And you can't. You don't want Slash to sound like Yngwie.
Right.
You know what I mean? And there's a guy someone like Yngwie's got super light strings.
Yeah.
And he's just flying, and his picking, he doesn't pick as hard as you think.
Yeah.
But it's very, very connected, and he uses a big, thick pick. And everybody's different. Holdsworth, all left hand mostly.
Yeah. Legato.
And super light strings. Van Halen, light strings.
Yeah.
So the first and foremost rule to not break strings is to make sure everything's clean, like there's no burrs, and to make sure your strings are fresh. That's all.
Yeah.
And there's people who don't want them changed.
Yeah. So one of the real important factors here is really working in that string so the guitar is stabilized and in tune. That's like the prime directive.
Yeah, because in Joe's case, guitars might get played for one song, so I would wait 3 shows to change them. But a Les Paul might get played for 4 songs in one night, so I would change those particular guitars every show.
Every show.
Unless we went shopping and he interrupted me working. So, and then in the case of someone like Slash, once I figured it out, what he was using, how many songs he'd play on it, I would do those the same concept. Like if he's playing this for 1 song, then we're probably pretty good for 3 shows. But the guitars he was playing multiple times a night, I would change those every show. And with a band like that, you roll in the day before, and you do a whole production day of getting everything ready. And I would stay in the stadium. I'd be there till 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night, just stringing.
So your day could start literally at 11 o'clock in the morning, and when you're through, you could be potentially in that stadium 12 hours later.
Yeah, me and the lighting guy.
Yeah.
And on a Joe gig, you roll in on the day, and you play the gig, and you leave.
And some of I think.
But it's always 12 hours.
Yeah. So something like one of Joe's 58 or 59 Les Pauls or one of his Tellys that he's loved so much, would they travel in a separate?
No,
They just get loaded onto the truck too.
Yeah, I mean, there's guitars we take with us.
Yeah.
And because we want to play them at night on the bus or in the hotel.
Sure.
But they're in the vaults, locked in the vault.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to unload that truck and steal a guitar, you're out of your mind.
Yeah.
Because I know how long it takes to get all that stuff out.
and even like touring in cold winter weather, they go in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're not taking the mint condition showpiece, perfect Telecaster. You're taking one that's already got battle scars, and the lacquer's going to check if you're going to tour with real stuff, and it's going to check with modern guitars.
Yeah.
Except there's more plastic in the finish, so they'll close up a little more, and then they'll open up, and but over time, and stuff's going to get dinged and broken, and amps are going to blow up, cables are going to break, like things happen.
Yeah.
And the trick is to have a backup plan